Thank you for joining us in this informational forum and call-in program. Tonight we will be discussing issues pertaining to the school levy, the election coming up that is scheduled for this coming Tuesday, April 4th, and in addition, forum participants will be addressing a number of issues relevant to Missoula schools and to the education of Missoula's city and Missoula's county children. I'm Lorene Folsom. I'm a faculty member with Missoula County Public Schools number 1. That includes the Missoula County High Schools and the Missoula City Elementary and Middle Schools. I'd like to introduce our forum participants tonight. Over here to my far left is Bruce Moyer. Bruce is the director of the business office, which is located at the South Avenue Administration Building. Next to Bruce is Tempe Stahl. Tempe is a student representative to the school board, a senior at Big Sky High School with an appointment to the Annapolis Naval Academy. Next to Tempe and to my immediate left is Mary Wagner, who is the Missoula County Public Schools number 1 superintendent, the parent of a child attending Cold Springs Elementary School, and also one at Meadow Hill Middle School. Directly to my right is Maureen Curnow, Dr. Maureen Curnow, who is chairperson of the Department of Foreign Language at the University of Montana. She is a member of the school board, and she is also a parent of a senior at Sentinel High School. Next to her is Mike Maxwell. He is currently principal at Franklin Elementary School, having previously been a middle school principal at Meadow Hill and at Washington Schools. Next to Mike is Lorraine Bond, who is a mother of a Cold Springs Elementary student. Next to Lorraine is Bruce Sinney. Bruce is principal at Sentinel High School. He has previously been a teacher in the high schools and a vice principal at Sentinel High School. Thank you for all being here tonight. We'll begin our forum with Dr. Curnow informing us as to why a school levy is run each year and some issues surrounding sound funding for education. Maureen.
Thank you, Lorene. We're looking forward to having you go to the polls on April 4th, this Tuesday coming up. We know that there are 4 significant places on the ballot where you'll need to mark your X's to support our schools. We have a mill levy for the elementary and middle schools in one box. We have a mill levy for the high school and adult education in the other box. And we have a building reserve for the elementary, which provides safety and maintenance for our schools, elementary and middle. That's box 3. And then another box, which is the building reserve for the high school, and then some of that is adult education. You know that mill levies depend on you. This is the only circumstance in which a government entity, a government group, goes to the public and asks you to vote for the money. That has positives and negatives. We know that there are some people who are feeling some frustration about not being able to vote on all sorts of decisions about government funding. And this is the one that's closest to us. This is where your vote matters, and this is where you must turn out and help educate your schools. We vote on these mill levies and we vote on these building reserves because from the Board of Trustees viewpoint, we have concluded that we cannot continue to educate your students without having these voted by the public. You all know that we've had a direct decrease of funds that have come to us from the state, and we're pleased that the state is able to reduce budgets, but we want everyone to understand that every time the state reduces a budget, then they're shifting that responsibility to us, and so we as local taxpayers must pick up our responsibility to vote for these mill levies and for these building reserves. This is an ongoing situation, and every year we must vote this amount, and we must depend on you to support the schools and to support the education that your children are getting. Our schools are producing good students. We have opportunities for all types of students in the system. We are paying a great deal of attention to what we call the RKs, the regular kids, as well as the students who need additional support or those who merit additional support. I am familiar with schools in other parts of the world and have been extensively involved in schools in France. I would not trade our system for any system in the world as far as overall preparation for all students. Our test scores show that our students are performing very well according to national norms. Our students are able to go into universities throughout the United States. They're very competitive. They can go into vocational technical education. We are trying to prepare them for all types of opportunities. We focus on basic skills. We work in the curriculum that moves across the borders. We look at the statement. We look at the needs of the individual students, and we try to form well-rounded students who will be able to contribute to society. We will appreciate then your vote. The Board of Trustees asks you to vote for those 4 issues on April 4th, Tuesday. Thank you. Thanks, Lorraine.
Thanks, Maureen. Next, Lorraine Bond will give us a parent's perspective on the mill levy.
I'm a parent and homeowner in Missoula County, and over the past couple of years, our taxes have risen drastically because of SIDs in the area. But I'll still vote for the school funding because if I don't, my children will suffer, and they're my #1 priority. I feel that as a parent and a community member, I have an obligation to the children in Missoula to give them the best education that they can be given. I try to stay informed about district affairs, and I sometimes criticize the administration for even considering cutting programs that I think are important to my children. But the bottom line here is that the state is cutting funds and the school district has to cut things somewhere. We still have supplies in the classrooms and we can still attract a respectable staff, but I feel like the district really has to meet all of our needs. It's a large responsibility, but it's their job and it gets harder with technological advances that they have to keep up with. The district is working on this, but it needs money to support programs. Like every parent, I feel my children are special, but the common denominator is that they attend the public school system, and the system's been good to us. My stepdaughter graduated from Hellgate High School and received a National Merit Scholarship. She now attends the #1 rated college in the U.S. You don't get there without a lot of determination and a good education. My youngest child is hearing impaired. He's received tremendous help, both privately and from the public schools. There has not been a switch in either the quantity or quality time in the district program. It compares equally to that of the private sectors. We should be doing this in every area of the district, and we can't if it's not adequately funded. This year at my house, we have to pay to connect to the sewer system. We have to repair the curb box that goes out to the water main. We need a new roof, and we need new carpeting. That's our responsibility to keep our home up. The schools need 11 new roofs replaced or repaired, 3 need connected to sewers, wiring updated for upgrades, 12 schools need heating systems, 11 elementaries need playgrounds improved for safety. We can't put this off. At my house, we don't put these things off because it decreases the value on my home. Our children spend 7 hours a day in the schools. We shouldn't put these off for them. We don't tolerate these conditions in our workplaces or our homes, and we shouldn't make our children do it in our schools. We have an obligation to supply the best education we can in a safe environment. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lorraine. Now Tempe Stahl, who is our student on the forum tonight, will present a student's view of the levy and its impact on education. Tempe.
Thank you. As a student in Missoula County Public Schools and the high school representative on the board, I would like to urge you as voters for the passage of these mill levies. These mill levies go to fund just the basic needs that we need to keep our schools running. Textbooks, basic supplies, classroom supplies, computers and computer software so that we can stay competitive nationwide. I was talking with some teachers this morning, and a government textbook is $60, and I think a lot of times we don't consider that that's how much a book would cost, and we have 350 of those books that we need. Postage, just the basic needs. If these needs must be met, and if they're not, some of the first things that will be on the chopping block will be student activities. Student activities are very, very important. I was talking to the athletic director this morning, and he was number crunching for me and said 780 students at Big Sky High School alone are participating in spring sports. I think that this is a tremendous savings for the community when you consider that it is often the kids that don't have things to do or time that's used productively that are often the ones that get in trouble within the community. These activities not only just keep students busy, but they also foster a sense of belonging, not only to the school, but to the community, and teamwork and competitiveness, and I mean, just all working together. Activities are really important, and I think the voters need to know that these needs will be funded, but it might be at the extent of some other programs if we can't fund these through the levies. Montana, and Missoula especially, continues to produce good students. Our students are top-notch. We have just from my personal view, I have received an excellent education. And as far as my future goes, I feel confident because I think I've been well prepared. I would just like to reiterate and say that if the mill levy fails, it will directly affect the students in Missoula County. Thanks.
Thanks, Debbie. Mary.
Thank you, Lorene. Students in Missoula County Public Schools are receiving a quality education. The following video is a snapshot into the student learning process.
Missoula Public Schools and the community work together in harmony, much the same as Big Sky High School students each contribute to the concerto they perform. Come see how each of us plays our part in helping our students succeed. The value of working together becomes apparent to even our youngest students. Russell School fourth graders team up with their first grade buddies to help with reading and fun projects like making valentines. Hawthorne School fifth graders find out how helpful an older friend can be in this lesson on stream ecology with Big Sky High School freshmen.
And they came with hip boots, and they came with all kinds of stuff. And a bunch of parents were there. I don't even know how many parents, lots of parents. So they really liked it. And then back in the classroom, we set up microscopes. We set up so that they could look at all their invertebrates that they collected. And we set up, we had calculators for them to calculate stream velocities. And they actually built a model of the riparian area in a stream table. So they had some kind of creative parts to the afternoon. And then
I thought that they learned a lot because they seemed really interested in it.
And so it just kind of felt good, you know, that we could teach them, and they were looking up to us, you know, for like the hour and a half that we had them.
Missoula community people lend their energy and expertise in a variety of settings. The Forest Service and Rattlesnake Middle School students work together to create multimedia programs for visitor centers.
We put together a partnership with the U.S. Forest Service, and the basic program was to try to put meaning into the curriculum. It's not enough to teach the skills. We need to take it one step further. We needed to demonstrate or model for our students that there's a reason to use these skills in the real world. And to do that, we formed that partnership to develop programs for the U.S. Forest Service.
There's a lot of great things about this project, but I think my favorite part was like learning how to apply my skills to the real world, because it's like teaching me what it'll be like when I'm an adult.
The critical part that I see is a process. These children need a process because technology is changing at such a rapid rate that we can't teach a product. They have to learn how to problem solve. They have to learn how to collaborate with other people that they're working with. They have to understand the work that happens within a team. And to do that, we use technology as a tool.
I like working in groups and
solving problems, and we learned a lot about how to work together and help each other through tough times. And
there are times in which I become the student, and some of the greatest teachers I've ever had were 13, 14-year-old students.
We got to learn a lot of things and talk a lot with adults too, so our communication skills are better, I think. And
the involvement with other business partnerships, we're finding more and more people that want to get involved. And I think that's healthy for education. In the long term, we will see business involvement with education and business partnerships. And that's exciting to know that there's so many people in the community that are supporting education.
I think the kids benefit from me because of the fact that I work one-on-one with them, and that is not a privilege they have in a classroom where the teacher has to work with all children. And it gives them an opportunity to really excel in what they're doing with me, and it brings them up to the mainstream with the rest of the class as over a period of time. It's just gratifying to see that you can make some kind of a contribution to the young people and help them in some of the things that they need help in. So I took advantage of it, and here I am, loving it.
The Missoula Police Department helps out with Adopt-a-Cop programs and teaching drug and alcohol refusal skills. Parent-teacher volunteers play a vital role in classrooms and throughout our schools.
It's the only chance I get to see my kids all day long. They're in school all day, so I don't get to see them all day every day. And two, a lot of the teachers need help. They can't do everything. They have 24, 26 kids in a class. They can't be everywhere at once. So it just gives the kids a little extra boost if someone's there to help. The nicest thing for me is when I come to school, kids that were in my kids' class in first grade, second grade, kindergarten, I have a fourth grader, a third grader, and a second grader, and a sixth grader. But when I come here, little kids that were in the kindergarten class of my fourth grade son say, "Hello, Mrs. Poitras." Or, you know, they smile at you. It's just like, why do teachers become teachers? Because they love little kids, and they, you know, children make it all worthwhile.
In turn, our students learn the satisfaction of helping those in need. High school students, as part of a class project in government, give at least 5 hours of community service.
Well, we went snow shoveling at the university area, and we just went around blocks shoveling everyone's sidewalks and with a bunch of other friends, so it was kind of fun too, and in the meantime, we were all helping out.
Well, my friend and I went to the Poverello Center and volunteered our time for a couple hours. I got to see how people less fortunate than I live, I guess. It made me feel good that I have what I have. It's nice to give back a little bit.
Well, some group of boys and I, we have a sax quartet through the band, and we went out and we played like an hour at different rest homes. We played at the mall one time and at Walmart. And then we played at, like, I think 3 rest homes just to give them a chance to hear music. Well, I think it let us know how little that the elderly people get young people to come visit them, because every time we were there, they were just so overexcited and overjoyed that we were there and asked us to come back. So I think that we're going to go back later on, like in the spring.
People and their relationships with each other create an excellent climate for our students to learn. And Missoula's public schools have maintained a high standard of excellence. Solid fundamentals are the core of our program. Physics comes alive in Glenn Govertson's class at Sentinel High School as students learn how a laser beam works. Libraries are the hub of our schools. Elementary students recommended books for the National Children's Choice Awards 2 years in a row. Only 5 schools in the nation are given this honor. Our fine arts program is one of the best in the state, and we use the arts as an avenue for learning.
One of the main goals of my program is to integrate the arts
into the classroom studies, so that in the case of this classroom, we're making the papier-mâché bunnies. These children have a bunny in their classroom all the time. And so when I come in and we make a papier-mâché bunny, they've studied the bunny, they know more about it, and then by making a papier-mâché bunny, they are creating a piece of artwork that will make their whole lesson much more memorable for them. It's important that we have art in the schools in that many children don't learn in the conventional manner. Lots of children are visual learners and they are hands-on learners, and the arts provide another avenue for learning. And it also adds to anything that's taught in the classroom.
The high caliber of our teachers and their commitment and enthusiasm for helping students learn is one of the greatest assets of our public schools.
I've been fortunate to be in Missoula schools for a lot of years, and I think that there are many things that I see routinely happening in Missoula's classrooms that makes me glad that I'm teaching here and makes me glad that my child is a student in Missoula schools. I see teachers willing and able to provide variety and individualization and content that is above and beyond what the curriculum calls for, making the classes interesting, making the students want to learn. And I think that's really what makes for excellence in many of our classrooms.
Community support and the relationships we nourish have helped put Missoula Public School students among the highest achievers in the nation. Our students score in the top third of the United States in standardized testing. Our dropout rate is only 4%, among the lowest in the nation. 65% of our seniors go on to college. We're proud of our Missoula County Public Schools. Come see for yourself. The doors of our schools are always open, and we welcome and need your participation. Come help us build the future. Please remember to vote Tuesday, April 4th. Polls will be open from noon to 8 p.m.
As a follow-up to the video you've just seen, Principals Mike Maxwell and Bruce Zinni will be getting more specific about where the mill levy and the building reserve monies are going to be used. First, Mike.
As the video said, we are very proud of our public schools, and over the years we've enjoyed an excellent support for the educational programs that have been provided here by our parents and our students and our staff and our community at large. I also believe that the Missoula County Public Schools have delivered a relatively low-cost and pretty high-performance program for the money that we receive from our mill levies and bond issues. I can also say from my own experience that we are not faced with the kinds of problems that we see in public schools nationally, and we're very pleased about that. The mill levy provides funds to our schools, not just in addition to last year's monies, but to replenish the monies and to establish our budget to continue on with the educational program that we have. The monies are used in the elementary program, kindergarten through 8th grade is where I'll try to focus some of my comments, primarily to develop a basic skills program, and then through the years that the students remain in our care to expand and build on those basic skills programs. In addition to that, the elementary district has provided a modest variety of options for expansions and growth at a variety of levels for our students, including things as field trips and other kinds of cultural experiences, and to attend to the needs of our special students too. Our goal being that we provide well-rounded and productive students and citizens and lifelong learners. The primary area where our budget goes is into paying for the people to work with our children. And at the elementary level, that is used significantly to maintain smaller class sizes so that the basic skills can be achieved. Every year, just shortly after Christmas, there's a major celebration that takes place in first grade, because throughout the district, kids are really learning their reading skills and are starting to progress rapidly in that area. So a big portion of our budget goes to pay for people to work with our children. At the upper grade levels, we start providing a lot more support services in the forms of counselors and social workers and artists and musicians and so on, to help expand and develop other opportunities for students to explore. In addition to that, much of our budget goes into training, because we are convinced that we are not to be surprised or surpassed in our educational program. It is excellent, and it ranks very highly in the national averages. We're determined not to be left behind. We provide monies and support to maintain our buildings and our grounds, for technology, and then for the things that we need for teaching: books, paper, supplies, curriculum development. In addition to that, we consider all of the students in our community to be special, and there are some that are special in many different ways. We have very many handicapped students that we try to provide excellent programs for. We have gifted students that we are providing programs for at this time too. We have students who are artistically and musically talented, and we want to develop those characteristics too. At the middle school level, the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, much of our energy goes into the basic program and expanding that into literature and mathematics and science and so on. But in addition to that, we provide opportunities for the students to explore a variety of other things in terms of activities, physical development, artistic and music and practical arts, experimentation, and so on. I believe that our schools do an excellent job. I'm very happy to be part of the Missoula public school system, and I can say for all of the teachers and for myself as a parent and as an educator too, that we appreciate the support that the Missoula community has given to our schools.
Thank you, Mike. Bruce.
I'd like to talk about the high schools and where some of the money goes in that direction, and probably will be repeating what the video has said, somewhat what Mike has said and what Tempe has said, and also some of the things that Mrs. Bond has said. Probably one of the biggest areas where we're looking at the high school level right now is our increasing of technology, and where our children need to be, our students need to be at the turn of the century with technology, not only in updating what we have and trying to keep up with new methods and so on with CD-ROMs and computers, but also in replacing what we've had for a number of years. We were very fortunate a few years ago in the 3 high schools in Missoula to receive an anonymous donor that gave us computer labs, and we've been very fortunate that we have added to those labs with networks from other labs into our libraries and so forth. But that is where a major item is right now, is in the technology end. Also in textbooks, and Tempe let you know a little bit ago what a government textbook runs. If you add math to that and English, so on, it's very, very expensive on textbooks. The classroom supplies and paper products and these sort of things are also going up in cost. We just received information this week that some of our form paper that we use for computers is going to rise about 25% for next year. So it looks like what the bids are going to be coming in at. So there's a lot of cost there also. And as Mrs. Bond indicated to you, as far as the schools kind of being like your homes, that's where we're at with our buildings. We have excellent buildings. They have been maintained over the years very, very well, but some of them are wearing out. And I can speak for Sentinel, which is an outstanding building being built approximately 40 years ago, and it has been maintained very well. But the labs, our original labs, our science labs, are in bad need of repair, actually in replacement, to update and also move into the technology era. And we're looking at our gymnasium. The bleachers that are in the balconies of our gymnasium are the original ones when the building was built. And quite a number, and I could just go on, and that's of all 4 buildings, including Seeley Lake, which is also part of the Missoula County Public Schools. Just the daily maintenance of the buildings is also an added cost that we have to look at. Also our extracurriculars, and Tempe did talk briefly about the extracurriculars, and I think you can be very proud of the extracurriculars in the Missoula. Quite a number of kids, students, participate in our extracurricular activities, and we see that coming home in an excellent manner with the state championships. And also, we have many outstanding students, as Mike indicated, as far as honors classes, AP classes at the high school level, and also our special kids. And those are the kids that we're looking at in special education. And we have as a goal, we attempt to educate everyone that comes through our doors, and we do mirror society, and we do have some problems, although our kids do very, very well. And I would also reiterate what Mike says on behalf of the staff of the high schools and administration. We would like to thank the Missoula community for their support of the schools, and you have supported us very well in the past, and we know that this will continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. Next, Mary Wagner will give us some more information about the Building Reserve Fund requests for this mill levy. Mary.
Thank you, Lorene. Outside of the general fund budget, which is supported by the mill levy, we have the building reserve budget, and as Maureen introduced, there will be questions on the ballot that reference the building reserve specifically. At the elementary level, we're asking for financial help for roof replacement for Washington, Meadow Hill, Franklin, Roosevelt, Cold Springs, Hawthorne, Porter, and Lewis and Clark. We're asking for help for sewer hookup for Franklin, Russell, and Lewis and Clark. We need help with heating system repairs for Roosevelt, Washington, Jefferson, Lowell, Lewis and Clark, Prescott, Franklin, Hawthorne, and Cold Springs. We need help with playground safety and improvements, and this improvement will take place at Cold Springs, Dickinson, Franklin, Hawthorne, Lowell, Lewis and Clark, Mount Jumbo, Prescott, Roosevelt, Russell, and Paxson. As was talked about earlier, we are looking toward increasing our capabilities with technological support to instruction. To do that, we need to upgrade our wiring, and we will do this at Hawthorne, Roosevelt, Mount Jumbo, Lewis and Clark, Dickinson, Washington, Rattlesnake, Meadow Hill, Cold Springs, Russell, Prescott, Lowell, and Franklin. We're also in need of increasing our capability for disability access to our schools, and there would be bathroom improvements, ramps, doors, signage at all of our elementary schools. And finally, electrical update at Franklin and the administration building. As we look at the secondary building reserve, which again is outside of the mill levy requests, we need program maintenance and safety for Big Sky and Sentinel, fire and safety systems installed at Hellgate High School. And if you'll recall, as you drive by Hellgate, you'll notice that it was built in the early 1900s, and the interior architecture of that school does not provide for closed corridors or closed stairwells so that we are more safe for our students in relationship to fire. We need roofs replaced at Big Sky, Hellgate, and Sealy Swan, carpet and tile replacement for Big Sky and Sentinel, heating system repairs for Big Sky, Hellgate, and Sentinel, bleachers at Hellgate and Sentinel, disability access for Big Sky, Sealy, Swan, Sentinel, and Willard. Environmental and asbestos management still remain for Big Sky, Hellgate, and Sealy, Swan. Window replacement is significant for Sentinel. Door replacement is also significant for Hellgate and Sentinel. Security system installation for Big Sky. Lighting replacement for Hellgate and Willard's Adult Learning Center. And finally, track and surface replacement for Sentinel and Willard, with locker replacement at Sealy, Swan, and Sentinel.
Thank you, Mary. Next, Bruce Moyer, who is Director of the Business Services, will inform us about just how much money is involved in the mill levy and in the building reserves, and what the tax impact will be for you and me.
Thank you, Lorraine. I'd like to call your attention, first of all, to the mill levies. The mill levies, as you may know, are levies that we ask the voters for each year to operate the day-to-day operations of our schools. That is, as opposed to the building reserves, which we've spoken to, building reserves are primarily for major construction and remodeling and major repairs. To come back to the voted levy, first of all, on the elementary side, I point out the 95-96 budget, and for next year that will be a total of $22,127,498. That represents a 4% increase over where we are with the current year's budget. Dropping down to the new money box, the box in yellow that shows in yellow and outlined by a dotted line represents out of the voted levy what the new money would be. And for next year, even though we vote the amount shown here to the right, the $1,271,195, the portion that represents new money is actually $851,058. The reason for that is the state does have a requirement that for certain districts that you revote monies that you currently have. In this particular case, this represents a revote of approximately $420,000. Again, the new money is $851,000. The tax impact for that additional new money, the $851,000 on a $100,000 home, is approximately $3.63 per month. And for the annual tax bill, it represents an increase of $43.51. This particular voted levy for the elementary as well as for the secondary would buy the things that we have listed and that both principals and the rest of the panel members have spoken to. Quickly, the supplies, textbooks, equipment, field trips, teacher training, special education, extracurricular, salary, utilities, buildings and grounds maintenance. Again, it's for the day-to-day operation of the schools. If you look over on the secondary side, for next year, 95-96, the secondary budget would be $18,505,454. Out of that out of that budget, the voted amount would be approximately the same as the elementary, $851,728. Now, in this particular case, the high school is an increasing enrollment situation. They'll be increasing approximately 78 students next year. Because of that, the only voted amount that the high school is required to vote is the increased dollars. We do not have to revote existing dollars. Tax impact for the high school voted amount, the increased $851,000 on a $100,000 home would be approximately $2.30 per month. For the year, it would be $27.63 per year. Looking down at the bottom, I have a summary. You can see the total impact of the voted levy for both the elementary district and the high school district would be approximately $71.14. If we can move to the building reserve and show the monetary impact of the building reserve, and I'll start again with the elementary. Shown on the left-hand side, the elementary building reserve from all of the projects is outlined by Superintendent Wagner, which would include roof replacement, sewer hookup, heating system repair, playground safety improvement, communications infrastructure, disability access, electrical upgrades, would be $315,600. And I would emphasize that that is a levy that we're asking on a 5-year basis, so that would be the amount for each of 5 years. You can see down at the bottom that for the current year in 94-95, the elementary district did not have a building reserve, so this $315,600 represents an increase for next year and for the following 4 years beyond that. Tax impact on a $100,000 home would be approximately $1.36 per month, or $16.29 for the year. Looking at the secondary side, for 94-95, this current budget year, we have a current building reserve in the amount of $300,000. That's a little difficult to see, but it's here. It's the current building reserve levy. This is the last year for the $300,000 levy. It was a 5-year levy voted in 5 years ago. It's due to expire June 30th. Looking up at the amount at the top, what the board is asking for next year is in order to provide for maintenance and safety, fire safety system at Hellgate, as mentioned, roof replacement, heating system repair, and the other items listed. At the secondary level, we are asking for $576,600. The amount that you see outlined in yellow represents the increase Part of the 576,000, 300,000 of that is a current levy. So the increase would only be for the difference between the 576 and the 300,000. And that would represent on a $100,000 home approximately 74 cents per month or $8.86 per year. If you look down at the bottom in summary, the total building reserve, again, I would emphasize that is for major remodeling and safety and maintenance projects as opposed to day-to-day operation. And you can see the total for the elementary district and the secondary district would be $25.15. Those 4 money issues will be on the ballot for April the 4th. The 2 building reserve issues, one for elementary and one for secondary, and the 2 mill levy issues for day-to-day operations, one for elementary and one for secondary. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. And now for your questions. Until 8 o'clock, we will be taking your calls. So please call 542-6228. That's 542-MCAT with questions regarding the mill levy, the building reserves, and Missoula's schools. And I'm sure we'll be getting some calls pretty soon. I have a couple of questions, however, that we'll fill in with till we get a call. Something that came up in a discussion the other day was, why should a retired person with no children or someone who sends their child to private school support public school funding? Mary, I think that was something that we talked about the other afternoon. Would you like to respond to that?
Yes, I would. It takes a community to raise a child, and in today's society, our community is committed to the health and to the growth and development of all people within our community, and that includes our young people who are dependent upon the educational system, which is dependent upon the community to pay for the educational system, to prepare our youth to be able to compete as they grow K through 12 in a world that is an uncertain world beyond their high school years, for their future as adults. All of us benefited as we are now adults and aging into a retired status and a middle-aged status, and all of us benefited from the public education system in one degree or another. And our country was based on the reality that we are a democratic society and one which depends upon an educated workforce and an educated populace to be able to make logical and sound decisions that prepare us for perpetuity as a country.
Thanks, Mary. Looks like we have a call on line 2. Hello, you're live on MCAT. No call? Oh, okay. I guess there wasn't. We'll try again. I have a couple of other questions here. One question that I had, or that I've heard people talk about, was that some voters say that they thought unification was going to save them money. And I was wondering, maybe Maureen, could you respond to that?
Unification has saved us money. We have a caller, so we'll go back to unification at a later point. No, we can't. We have to wait. Our phone's ringing interesting things to us. Unification has enabled us to save some money. We have put together offices, and we have combined functions. Let's go ahead.
Okay. Sure. Hello, you're live on MCAT.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do have a question. Several people have gotten flyers in the mail recently from the schools. The question I noticed that as far as the building reserve, we have everything itemized, that what they need and the amounts. Okay?
Yes.
When we get up to the levies, what do the voted levies fund? We just have a list of things with no amounts after it. And I'd like to know where salaries are in this list.
Okay, thank you very much for your call. Salaries in the list. Who would like to respond to that? Bruce, would that be you?
That'd be fine, sure.
Okay.
I can respond to that from the standpoint of what part of the budget does salaries comprise. And at the elementary level, currently in the 94-95 budget, salaries and benefits, and that would include things such as workman's compensation, comprise 86.74% of the budget. At the secondary level, salary and benefits comprise approximately 83.1% of the budget.
Thanks, Bruce. Mary.
If I might add to that, our board has asked us to look at the cost of continuing salaries without looking at adding increased costs in those areas, which represents, as we move toward any program modification, either fleshing it out or decreasing it, that we will have to look at adjustment within the salary and benefit line items. In addition to that, our board has been preparing for the setting of budgets, and as they are in that process of preparation for budget, we are still facing unknown certainties that represent action at the state level that could either change what we are receiving in state dollars negatively or positively. And we are also still facing what may happen at the federal level with adjustments in federal dollars for federal programs, such as the Chapter 1 program. And so as our board is putting these pieces together for salaries and benefits, they also have to take into consideration any adjustments that may be a result of state and federal action.
Thank you, Mary. Would anyone else like to address that before we get on to something else?
I think we need to remember at every point that our teachers and our employees are the people who make the schools go. We certainly can't send our children out there in rooms by themselves. So when one talks about salaries, one has to remember that that's the investment that we're getting, and education is the result of that.
Thanks. No? Okay. Maureen, before we got the last call, you were talking about the unification issue. Could you talk about that a little bit more?
We have combined offices in unification. We have one personnel office. We have one curriculum office, where in many cases we had two offices. We've combined our business services, and there have been some savings. However, we have never said that the reason to unify our districts was because we were going to make enormous savings. We have always said the reason to unify our districts was so that we would have a better education for our students, so that the right hand would know what the left hand is doing, so that the math a student gets in the 5th grade will lead to the math that a student gets at the freshman level and at the sophomore level. So we won't repeat curriculum for our students. The articulation of our curriculum, the serving of our students in a better way has always been the reason for our curriculum and our unification.
Thank you, Maureen. Hello, you're live on MCAT.
Yes, I received a flyer from the school, and I was wondering if you could give dollar amounts for the mill levy itself for all the different categories that they list. Could you go line by line? I mean, it lists technology, building and grounds maintenance, textbooks, classroom supplies, teacher training. Does anybody have an answer as to how much in dollars each category would receive if the mill levy is approved?
Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
We do have that information. I have it contained here in a document that at the secondary level is quite thick. I would like to respond to that question this way. This year, through the budgeting process, we asked the building principals and administrators to submit to us what they viewed as the necessary needs for the upcoming school year. Out of the needs that they presented to us, there were a variety of areas that they asked for, some of which both principals have mentioned, including technology and classroom supplies and field trip expenses and those day-to-day operational things. Out of those particular requests, we have found that the amount of money that we're going to have to trim back from those requests at the elementary level is about $1.131 million. At this point in time, we have not set particular budget amounts in each one of the areas because the board is working on priorities, but we know on April the 12th that we'll be working through those priorities in an effort to trim back that $1.131 million. At the secondary level, we'll be doing a similar process for approximately $724,000. But the details of all of that are contained in budget documents that are at the business building on South Avenue, and I would be happy to go through and share the detail of that with you.
Thank you, Bruce.
May I add a comment to that?
Sure.
I want to make certain that everyone knows that we're a public entity, that our money comes from the public, and as such, all records are open to the public. The only records that are closed are personnel records. But remember that every budget is available, every type of curriculum is available to you, any list. So come in to our buildings.
If I could just add to that too, on April the 12th and April the 13th, beginning at 5 p.m., our board will be in work session, and they will be working through the specifics of the requests in those areas such as technology, textbooks, and an example would be an increase of $86,000 in textbooks for the secondary level. And those will be the issues that they will be discussing, one in relation to each other, as they prioritize and begin to narrow on the focus of this budget.
Thank you, Mary. There was a question that has come up a couple of times. With all the new construction in town, why are the schools still asking for money and taxes keep going up, even though the tax base is broadening? Let's hold that question for a minute, and I'm going to take this call on line 1. Hello, you're live on MCAT.
Yes, the Europeans, the Germans, the Swedes, the Japanese are spending large sums of money on education. How do we stack up in terms of expenditures against what they're spending to educate their children? They seem to be outstripping us educationally.
Thanks for the call. Who would like to respond to that? Can anyone respond to that?
Those governments have a more centralized federal system in which the monies are allocated by a federal government. The curriculum is demanded and commanded by a central government. They pay for systems of which they approve, and they are allocating funds to education. But in a number of those countries, those budgets are declining. I know the budgets in France, for example, students are rioting because of the conditions of the schools are so bad. If you have ever been to a school in France, you would see that the issues of public safety and maintenance have fallen far behind. I've seen schools in Germany and in England recently where the students are educated, the classes are very large, there are no activities, music is not part of it, gym is not part of it. Let's go on.
Okay.
Line 1. Thanks.
Thanks, Maureen. Hi, you're live on MCAT.
Yeah, I would like to know your opinion on outcome-based education, and not just your opinion as to the worthiness of it, but the budget aspect of it. I have a hunch this is going to cost us a pile of money. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mary, did you want to speak about outcome-based education?
Yes. Our school district is not an outcome-based education school district. Our school district is a school district that is teaching the basic skills, believes in a solid foundation in writing, math, computational, problem-solving, thinking skills. And our school district is working to improve our means of assessment of student performance in those areas to guarantee to the public that we are successful in teaching our children those basic skills.
Thanks, Mary. Well, let's go back to my previous question. Yes, with all the new construction that's going on in town, it seems like the tax base should be broadening and taxes should be going down, and we shouldn't have each of us individually have to spend so much on schools. Bruce, could you respond to that?
I'll try.
Okay.
Yes, the tax base is broadening each year. As a matter of fact, from this year, with the tax base is approximately $115,000 per mill. That's how much one mill levied on the taxpayers would raise. And next year we're anticipating that would be about $119,000. The reason taxes go up, as we did mention in the financial part of the presentation, the schools are going to realize approximately a 4% increase for next year. And that is the amount allowed by the state, by statute. I would emphasize, though, that schools are funded somewhat differently than other governmental agencies, insofar as we do not levy mills. So if you're the owner of an $80,000 home, and if you're being assessed 10 mills on your home and you jump to a $100,000 home, you're not necessarily assessed 10 mills on the $100,000 home. Schools vote for dollars. So if schools are looking for $5 million, just because the value on your home goes up, that does not mean that the mills go up on that home. We still raise $5 million. We don't get additional dollars because the value of your home has gone up. What does happen, however, is that there is a shift of the tax burden. If you move from an $80,000 home to a $100,000 home, the tax rates as provided by the state of Montana change. For example, on a $100,000 home, the tax rate per $100,000 of value is $3.86. If you have an $80,000 home, that tax rate goes down to $3.08. But even though those tax rates may fluctuate, again, the schools only raise X number of dollars, and just because the value goes up, we do not increase the mills. We're looking for a constant dollar amount.
Thanks, Bruce. When we were talking the other day, we talked about some things that cost money that a lot of times we don't think about. Bruce Zinni, we were talking about the cost of mailing a newsletter to parents, which just recently was done at Sentinel High School. How much does it cost to send out a newsletter to parents?
Approximately $500. That's, give or take a little bit. And as we try to, and another goal we have is better communication with our parents, and of course newsletters and letters going home and so on. That's also going up. You're right, Maureen.
So that's the cost, the entire cost of sending the newsletter?
Of one mailing.
Right, one mailing, $500.
Yes. And that's just like the postage and handling.
Right.
Yes.
I'd like to mention, too, that we have made adjustments in the way we handle our budgets. We have asked students to pay a participation fee as they participate in after-school activities. At one time, all school districts paid for all athletics, all speech and drama, all music. Our students now pay a participation fee for those activities, except for kids who can't afford it. Then we have supporters who are able to help us with that. But we are having to shift the burden onto some of our students and our families where people make choices. We have tried to keep all of our money into basic education, as Superintendent Wagner has said, and for the things that are related, we have had to shift the burden, and we've had to ask our students and parents to support those.
Well, we're really drawing into the final minutes here. Does anybody have any other comment? Mary would like to say something.
This is back to the question of unification. It is important to state that the elementary money that is generated through the state and local dollars is only spent for elementary education and elementary children, and the secondary money that is generated through state and local dollars is only spent for secondary education. And those two budgets, by virtue of state law, may not be mixed.
Thank you very much, Mary. One more call. Hi, you're live on MCAT.
Thank you. Somebody brought up outcomes-based education. One, I would like their opinion or description of outcomes-based education. And two, I'd like to know why there's so much psychological education or psychological counseling. And is that attributed to outcomes-based education? And how much is it costing?
Thank you for your call. Who would like to respond to that one? Mary?
Well, we as a school district have not debated the virtues or the lack of virtue of outcome-based education. We as a school district have made a commitment to basic education, which goes back to reading and writing and computation, excuse me, and the use of those skills across the curriculum. It is not the place of our district to get into psychological education for children.
I can respond a little bit to that, too. I work at a school that it's a very basic educational program. It's a meat and potatoes curriculum, essentially. And we do have psychological needs that we provide, and we would like to provide more because we work in an area where kids have special needs. It's a low-income area, and it is not an outcome-based program.
Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Don't forget to go to the polls and vote on Tuesday, April 4th. Thanks again. Thanks to everyone who participated.
And you don't see things with the same eyes that somebody from somewhere else might. So hopefully, maybe you'll see something new. I would imagine that a lot of you probably know more about this than I do. You know what? I was asked to do this paper by Jennifer Thompson from the Historical Society, and I thought, boy, this is going to be really easy.